Well, hey YouTube, petey twofinger here, and there's a guy who comments often on this channel who has a, what do you call that, modular synthesizer rig. He's gone down that incredibly cool rabbit hole, if you will. He posts his own synthesizer interpretations of different, more popular pieces of music, which is really cool. Oftentimes he'll sing over those. And he motivated me to give a whack at doing that. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about how I make music. I've done this before. In the past, we used Cakewalk for DOS, and you would get a MIDI keyboard hooked up to a sound module and poo, and then record that and have that loop in the software, and then do the cymbals and piece that all together as your drum track for your song. Now they have this newer software stuff like MT32 Power Kit, Power Drums, Superior Drummer, Easy Drummer, and Addictive Drums. And that not only does it have this fantastic studio quality sounds, all kinds of different sounds of like real drum kits being sampled by pros. Those beats come built in, so you can, if you have an idea, you know, you have this, you can go through, fire up that software and audition their drum beats till you find a, and once you find that, you can just load those in there and render it out, and you have an audio, like a mastered recording of a drummer playing the part you need for your demo song. So that's pretty much using this Reaper. You have a folder that is not Reaper, that is called VST. And VST is like little plugins that come up inside of this DAW. The DAW is the digital audio workstation where you make the music. And basically there's two different types of virtual stuff you work with a lot. One is VST, one is VSTI. VSTI is virtual instruments, and that would be like software-based synthesizer, or maybe it might be a piano or an orchestral simulator, but the I stands for instruments. And the regular VST, those are just compressors, equalizers, reverb, and delay, whatever the different effects that we use to process and sweeten our sounds. So you set up, you can download Reaper for free. I believe if you want to commit to it, there is a small fee. But this is what you use to record the audio, and it's a digital audio workstation. It's very flexible, and a lot of people are using this. So you can also, like what I do is I'm working, and all of a sudden I realize, gee, I need piano. And I've got a bunch of synthesizers that have piano in them, but maybe I could find something that's more specific that just does a really good piano. So I'll type that in, best free piano VSTI, and I'll find a bunch of articles people have written with links to go to different various websites that have offering their free piano VSTIs. Install that, and there you go. It sounds fantastic. So through that process, if you're working for a while, if you want to get into making music, that's what I would recommend. Reaper, get yourself a copy of Reaper, and then start checking out free VSTs and free VSTIs and build your collection from there. Something called MT32 Power Kit, Power Drum Kit, is free. That's something that I use. And oftentimes I will just go through what they give you, what comes with the software. They have beats or grooves, they call them. And you'll go, there's a whole massive list of them. And if you know a little bit about music and you know the piece you're working on is not a waltz, avoid the waltz section or go straight to it. So you'll kind of go through and audition these beats so you find something that works for you. And even if you don't have an idea of what riff you're going to play on your guitar, you could go through these drum beats and that would very well inspire a riff. So there's a songwriting tip for you. Now, if you know me, you know I often bag on people that play in cover bands, and there's two different reasons why I do that. That's the young, aspiring, coming up people who overreach, and I'll explain I worked with a guy who had a low singing voice. He would have been good to do a Johnny Cash and Frank Zappa tribute. And he was constantly picking Led Zeppelin and Raven or Rush. These bands where the singers sing in the range that only dogs can hear, which would lead to, of course, him singing flat and us embarrassing the whole band. So you have that aspect of it of let's keep it simple. If we're starting out and we're learning, it's perfectly acceptable to do the cover thing up to a point where you get to that thing where you kind of really know what you're doing on your instrument. I feel then it's time for you to man up, put your money where your mouth is, and start putting yourself out there, which means writing your own original compositions and sharing those with your audience. So that's kind of what I encourage people to do. I see this huge cover band, unbelievably serious guys in their 40s and 50s now. They dress like bikers. They've got all the rock and roll accessories, incredible amounts of money. The glowing blue, one of those amplifiers with the tubes in them that glow, that costs $4,000 to play. And every town has the same, it's the Motley Crue, Poison Crew, or, Alice in Chains cover band, Beggar's Banquet. All these, they're the same. It's the same stuff. We've heard it on the radio millions of times. Why do I want to hear a band playing that live? It's just a bunch of jokers. I don't want to hear that because they're never going to get close to it. And those guys at this pro level, you need to put your money where your mouth is and write some stuff. So that's just my personal thing. And I break my own rule all the time. We do covers. Cover Link Ray, Rumble is a classic. Everybody should cover that song. No one plays it right. No one even gets close to the tone, but that shouldn't stop people. So you fall into this standards and classics area, and that's what I've been working at lately. I've been looking for jam tracks, and most of the time they include the bass. Now I'm in a duo with a bass player, and I don't want any low frequency on my backing track. So you can look, there are services that you can custom tailor your jam track and get just the drums, no guitar, or whatever you want, and they charge you for that. I've been doing this by myself. So typically what you do, you'll grab a MIDI file and insert that into this REAPER software, and it will ask you if you would like to have it spread out into separate tracks, which is what I do. And then taking a look at them, I can see that the drum track is by looking at it, that it's the drums. It's very difficult to see on this video, but the other way you can do it is when you normally click on a full MIDI file and play it in Windows Media Player, it will play it as the guy designed it, meaning the drums will automatically default to a drum kit. The piano track will automatically default to play a piano. So you can listen to that and then go in here in the software and determine, and if you can't figure out what's what, meaning, you have this track and it's going boo, boo cha, boo, boo, boo cha. That's the drums, and you put a piano on it and it's going gang, 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 and ding, 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 the cymbal. You can kind of figure out that's a drum track, So one of the things you can do is put a default piano track up there and then move each track into that and hear what does it do with the piano. And then you can kind of custom remix these tracks. For me, looking at it, you can see the bass track always has notes that are at the bottom, because that's bass. They'll be at the bottom of the clef or the piano roll. So you'll right away assign it to a bass synthesizer. And I usually mute that because I will unmute it and print or render this track with a bass just to give that file to my bass player and say, hey, here's the track with the bass part. So you can learn that, you can hear it and learn it. But then the main actual jam track that I make, I will have that muted. And that's the beauty of remixing these, is you get to custom pick. If it's a string, if it's an orchestral string part, you're pretty much going to want to stick with that. If it's a piano sound and that's an iconic part of the song, you're going to want to stick. But usually there'll be some bonus tracks in there that you kind of can't figure out what you want to use. You could very well put another string on it. Or you could put that bubble synthesizer, that you put that on there, and with the right reverb or echo on that, it could end up making it a real signature type of sound for your own personal remix. And I do that all the time when I do this. There'll be some oddball track in there. So it's very fun because, like I said, not only am I adding like a piano, like that piano sounds cheesy, and then you make a game of it of trying to find what reverb or EQ you can put on that piano to remove a good percentage of that cheese factor. And then by the time you're done and you're not listening to that piano track soloed, when it's mixed with the rest of the track, you've got the Magic Studio pixie dust of reverb and EQ on it. All of a sudden, no one can tell the difference. It sounds like Liberace tickling the ivory. So this is something that I've been having fun doing. I was motivated to do it by thinking about what another guy, what DB does. He does these covers. I'm guessing it's something like this, unless he's probably actually playing all of the parts, where I just grab a generic MIDI file and slap it in, and then remix all of that by picking my own individual synthesizer sounds. What I walk away with is a rhythm track that is good enough for me and the other person that I make music with. So as a preview, I'm going to go ahead and play you guys Sleepwalk. The original MIDI file was so fast, it was like 115 tempo. It was ridiculous. And really, that's like a 65, this song. So that was the first thing I have to do, is reduce the tempo. I tried reducing it after the file I had done all my work to it, and it knocked stuff out of sync. So I don't know what that was all about. When I imported it, when you drop it into the Reaper, it will ask you certain questions. And one of the questions was, did I want to import a time map? And I said, no, I don't want the time map. So I think when I had initially done that, dropping it in, I said yes. So there must have been some time map. Maybe I was only changing the tempo on one track. I don't know. Something didn't work out with that. I would advise you, if you are going to be playing with the tempo, do that first. Get your tempo set first. This is a really fun way to spend an afternoon remixing a MIDI file. What you're going to find is places selling them. You're going to find varying quality. Some people really go way out of their way to knock it out of the park with a multi-track MIDI file. Other MIDI files will be one track. And a good way to tell what you're going to get is by the size of the MIDI file. If it's 20 kilobyte, you might want to take a pass and look for something that's 9,000. You're probably going to end up with a better MIDI file. So I'm going to let you guys go. I don't want this video to be too long. Stick around and check out the mix down that I did for the song Sleepwalk, and you'll be able to see us performing this live whenever we are able to get a decent version of that on videotape. So it should be this year. But I'll be using my thumb slide. This is a thimble slide. It sits on my third finger, and I'm able to play normally for me, which is just using my pinky and my ring finger because of my lumbar accident. And I'm also able to incorporate slide because of the thimble slide of where it sits. So this is a wonderful product, and I'm going to be incorporating that on this song. So look for some covers coming from the duo. That's the name of the act that I have with my wife and I in this. I can't say drum machine anymore because we're using MP3 loops that I put together, and that's a little bit about what we talked about today, is how I put those together. And for the most part, I've avoided using the keyboard that much. There's times when I do need to use it, when I will play a part and record that. But for the most part, they give you enough stuff in there that you can pick and choose and find something that someone else has played very adeptly, and just use those to put your track together. So it's a wonderful time to be alive and making music. Do I look at this as cheating? No. This is tools used to assemble a backing track. The real magic happens. The performance is me doing my thing on the instrument. The backing tracks are, nobody really applauds for those. So I don't, I've always been one to embrace technology. And yes, of course, a real band would always sound better, but for some reason I've never met a drummer who was able to get along with me. Drummers can't stand me. So that's my personality quirk. Alright, you guys, stick around and check out the version of Sleepwalk I put together, and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much, and peace.